Last time we discussed about cash and liquidity management, in which we discussed up to how to prepare a cash budget, especially income and expenditure method, receipts and payment method, in fact. So let's go for a quick revision of the previous session and then we'll be able to move ahead. So these are the various reasons why various outcomes of this respective chapter. This is what we are going to learn from the current chapter. We discussed what is the reason for holding money, why people like to hold more and more money with them. So transaction, precautionary and speculative motives are there. Transaction motive talks about all your transaction needs, day-to-day needs to be fulfilled with the help of money. Precaution motives actually helps you out to understand that you need a certain amount in your pocket to meet some uncertainties, some contingencies, and speculative motives to earn more money from the current income. Cash budget, why do we need to prepare cash budget? We discussed that. Receipts and payment method, we discussed it in detail. These are the things, these are the items that are supposed to be part of receipt and payment method. This is an example which we discussed, and this all are cash receipts. I told you last time that you should keep in mind that all cash payments, expected cash payments, should be only there in the cash budget, or the amount that you are receiving should be only there in the respective cash budget in that respective month. Any amount that you are expecting to receive in the month, in the next month, should be there in the next month's budgeted data. So this is, if you can see here, that we talked about sales, out of which a certain part was the credit sales and the certain part was the cash sales. And credit sales is being received 50% in two installments. First in the next month and then followed by the another month, the another 50%. And this is how it had been prepared, right? This is about payment. In the same format is applicable, and this is how it is, payment method is being identified. So this, what we discussed on that day, was receipts, and you are here, you can be able to see that total cash receipts for the month of January, February, March, April, May and June is accordingly. In the same way, we'll see here, so total cash payment in the month of January, February, March, April, May and June is also done. After that, we need to prepare an entire cash budget where we'll talk about receipts and payment both. So if you'll see here, this is what we are supposed to start today. If you'll see here, assuming that the cash balance as on 1st of January is 22,000 and minimum cash balance required by the firm is 20,000. So in any case, company need to keep 20,000 as a cash balance with them. The opening balance of cash is 22,000 when in the month of January. So opening cash balance as mentioned here is 22,000. Opening cash balance is 22,000. This 22,000 is given at this point. It is given that opening cash balance is 22,000. After that, if you'll see, if you can recall, we discussed the receipts. The receipts were 1,000, 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh 5,000, 1 lakh 4,000, 112,000, and 122,000. So let's go to the previous slides to see whether what we discussed was. If you can see here, 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh 5,000, 1 lakh 4,000, 1 lakh 12,000, and 1 lakh 22,000. So it is there 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 5, 1 4, 1 12, and 122,000. So this is all came from that respective receipts book, cash budget receipt book. Whereas these payments are reflecting from the previous slide that we had prepared payments. So 87, 80, 87, 137, 100,000, 95,000, 95,000, and 135,000. So if we'll go here back, find the same figures are here. So this is receipt. This is what company is going to receive in the month of January, February, and accordingly. And these are the payments. Net cash flow. So the difference between the cash receipts in the month of January and the cash payment in the month of January. So 100,000 or 1 lakh minus 87,000 comes to 13,000 as a balance. So this 13,000 is nothing but it is the difference. This 13,000 is nothing but it is the difference of these two figures. In the same way, it is carried for the next 5 months also. We will see here it is cash payment is 1,37,000 and cash receipt is 1,05,000. So there is a negative cash balance. That is why it is being marked in brackets. In finance, we used to show negative figures in bracket, and that is what we had shown here. Cumulative net cash flow. So this is cumulative net cash flow. As it is 13, it will be for the first year. It will first month it is 13,000. Opening cash balance plus cumulative net flow. So opening cash balance was as mentioned 22,000 plus this one, that is cumulative net cash flow. So 13 plus 22 comes to 35,000. Minimum cash balance that a company need to manage. So it is mentioned here, company need to manage 20,000 as the minimum cash balance. So this comes to 20,000. The difference between two is either a surplus or a deficit. Surplus, if this cash balance is more compared to 20,000, there will be a surplus cash balance. If this cash balance is less compared to 20,000, then there will be a deficit cash balance. So if you go to the next month, you will find this 13 plus this 13. That is the balance of 13,000 in the month of January. Net cash flow 13,000 of January plus net cash flow of 13,000 of February. So this becomes cumulative. Cumulative plus opening cash balance that we are having in the month of January. We carry forward this opening cash balance in the month of February also. It becomes 48,000. 20,000 as per the criteria given. 20,000 we need to keep as a balance, minimum cash balance on hand. The difference between these two comes to 28,000. Now in the month of March, you will see our payment is more than the receipts, and that is why our net cash flow is negative. Net cash flow is 32,000 minus. So what will happen now? This is 26,000. We are talking about a cumulative cash flow. This is 26,000 positive balance and this is 32,000 negative balance. When you will add these two things, you will find there is a negative cash balance of 6,000. So 16,000, that is minus 6,000 plus 22,000 opening cash balance plus cumulative net cash flow. So this comes to 16,000. Our minimum amount that we need to manage is 20,000 cash, the cash balance, and here it is. This balance is cumulative net cash flow is lesser than our minimum balance required to manage, and that is why it is a negative cash flow. So we can be able to identify that in the month of March, we are falling short by 4,000 rupees. This is our deficit. And the same way is carried forward for the month of April, May, and June. And this is what is known as cash budgeting, where you are identifying all your cash receipts. You are mentioning your all cash receipts, you are mentioning your all cash payments, and you are preparing your cash budget, that how much cash will be remaining in surplus in your hand in a certain month, or it will be deficit in a certain month, so that you can plan the cash balances accordingly. So long-term cash forecasting, this can help you out for a long-term cash forecasting also. Long-term cash forecasts are generally prepared for a period ranging from 2 to 5 years. See, whatever we see was of 6 months only. This helps us to identify the cash balance in a certain month required. Now, when you go for a long-term cash forecasting, it is generally greater than 1 year, because less than 1 year is always known as a shorter period or short term in finance. So this is for 2 to 5 years generally. It serves to provide a broad brush picture of firms' financing needs and availability of investable surplus in future. So what it explains us that what amount is required in the near future by the company, and where a surplus fund can be invested, or what amount is surplus in our hands, so that can be invested somewhere to earn more amount or more interest on that surplus fund. it is helpful in planning capital investment outlays and long-term financing. So what this helps out? If you are planning, if you are forecasting some long-term cash forecasting, it helps you to explain that what amount you need for investment and what is a long-term financing need, from where you will bring finance for long-term. Adjusted net income method is generally used for long-term cash forecasting, and for forecasting long-term cash requirements, adjusted net income method is being utilized. So this is how your format is given for long-term cash forecasting. Now see, if you'll see here, it is not talk about cash receipts and cash payments. It starts with the sources from where the cash will come and where it will be used. So if you'll see it, will identify that net income after taxes, as we discussed in the sources for long-term finance, we know that retained earning is the best source of long-term financing available to company, because it comes with without any kind of burden on the company. So net income after taxes, non-cash charges. Generally, we know when we are charging anything like depreciation or amortization, it is a non-cash expense. So that is also, that respective fund is also available with the company in the form of a cash. It only reduces your, it only increases your expenses to reduce your tax liability, but that amount is not being spent. So this is non-cash charges. Increase in borrowings. If you are borrowing any money, maybe in forms of equity or in forms of debt, this is here. Sale of equity shares and any other miscellaneous expenses. So this will give you total cash inflow of a certain year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the same way, whatever amount is being received or generated here, it will be used, and where it is used, it is given. Capital expenditures, if any done, increase in current assets, you have bought any current assets, repayment of borrowings, if you borrowed here anything, you are repaying it. So repayment of borrowings, dividend payment, and miscellaneous is mentioned, and the opening cash balance is being added, and whatever it comes, if this capital, if this expenditure is more than the sources of income, it will have a deficit. If this is less than the sources of income, it will surplus. So whether it is a surplus or deficit, it will add the opening cash balance of that respective year. And when you will add this surplus or deficit to the opening cash balance, it becomes a closing cash balance of that respective year. So this is how long-term cash forecasting is done. So whatever we had seen in the previous one, cash budgeting, it's for short-term sources, short-term forecasting, and this is long-term forecasting. Reports for control. Now, how you will control all these requirements? So you need to prepare 3 different reports. One is a daily cash report, another is a daily treasury report, and third is monthly cash report. See, generally, daily cash report is a report which actually notes all your receipts and payment of a certain day. For example, if we talk about today, today is 22nd of April 2020. So what amount we received today will be mentioned in the daily cash receipt from wherever it comes, that does not matter. And what amount we paid today, paid to anybody in the cash form, in any form we had paid. So that will be mentioned in the payment side of cash budget. The difference, these two will give you the net cash flow of today's plus opening balance that we had seen earlier. So when you will add opening balance, it will come to a closing balance on daily basis. Now this can be depending on your payments is greater than or less than the receipt. It will be either if payment is greater than the receipt, it will be your negative cash balance, and if it is lesser, that is the payment is less than the receipt, then it will, there will be a positive cash balance on hand on a single day. Daily treasury report. Now, treasury is something, if we talk about cash balances, the company do not like to hold more and more cash on hand. Company, if is having any kind of cash balance on hand, that will be immediately invested somewhere, because cash on hand do not gives any earning. We know this very well. So what company will do is company will like to invest this respective surplus anywhere from where it is quite secured. It is the liquidity is enough on that respective source, and can generate some more interest income on that surplus amount. So that will increase the cash balance of or profitability of the company. So what this daily treasury report talks about is it is a comprehensive picture of changes in cash, marketable securities, debtors and creditors. Everything is being mentioned. So what amount we need, what amount we have, what amount we need, what amount we will be generating, what is the current cash value of our marketable securities, etc. is being identified through daily treasury report. Whereas monthly cash report is the actual cash receipts and payment on a monthly basis. The actuals are compared with the budgeted figures and variance are calculated. See, monthly cash report point out only the actual cash receipts and actual cash payments. And as we had seen earlier that we had prepared a budgeted cash book. So the budgeted figures will be compared with the actual one. We estimated that in the month of January, let's say if we go to the previous slides and if you would like to check it out, we said that in the month of January, we are going to receive 80,000 rupees from receivables and 20,000 in form of cash, which comes to 1 lakh rupees. But at the end of the month of January, we identified that we received only 80,000 rupees out of these entire 1 lakh rupees. So that will help us to understand where is the rest of the amount or from where we didn't receive any amount and why it happened. So variances, the differences can be calculated easily with the help of monthly cash reports. Cash collection and disbursement. Now collecting cash and making a payment or disbursing cash. This is an important part of a company's liquidity positions considering the company's cash balance. So there is a float term. Now float is what? Float is the cash balance shown by a firm on its book is called the ledger balance. Generally, you know that companies used to prepare a ledger, and there's a cash ledger also, which actually talks about what amount of cash we have. There's a bank ledger also, which shows what is the balance on a bank account on a certain date. That can be easily identified with the help of ledgers. But generally, if we go to the bank, if we'll see this, if we'll talk about the cash balance, it's a ledger balance. And when we go to the bank, it is known as a collected balance. Now, there will be a difference between these two. There will be a difference between these two. That is the ledger balance and the collected balance. Now, this is known as float. This is known as float. And check issued by firm create disbursement float, whereas check received by the firm create collection float. So any check that is being issued by the company to any of its suppliers, any of its creditors, it actually is disbursement float. Whereas if we see the check that is being received by the firm creates a collection float. If you can remember in your previous classes, you might have uh, studied a bank reconciliation statement, BRS. So it is somewhat like that. But here we are talking about a cash balance, cash ledger and bank balance, bank ledger both. So disbursement float is check issued and collection float is check received. The difference between the disbursement float and the collection float is known as net float. So the difference between the balances of cash ledger and bank ledger is known as a float, whereas the difference between the disbursement float, that is check issued by the firm, and collection float, that is check received by the firm, the difference between these two is known as a net float. Now your disbursement is very high and your collection is very low. So there will be a negative flow because you are paying more and you are collecting less. So this will be a negative flow. This is not a good sign for a company. Company is paying all its expenses in cash and company is not receiving cash from its creditors, from its debtors, is not a good sign for the company. So collection flow should be high compared to disbursement flow. Net flow should be always positive figure. Now cash collection and disbursement, as we're talking about it. So speeding up collection is one of the most important things when your net net float is negative, or when your collection float is less compared to your disbursement float, what you should do is you should speed up your collection process. Generally, what happens when we talk about this collections, what we do, this is a general process given here. We mail the checks to the customer, company receives the check, company deposits the check, and cash is available. So time, if you'll see here, this is known as a mailing time. Receiving the check, customer mails the check, and company receives the check. This is known as a mailing time. Company receives the check and company deposits the check is processing time. And after that, company deposits the check and cash is available. So in this respective period, this is a delay, availability delay. Though you have check, you cannot be able to utilize it because it is not in a cash format. So cash available, that up to whatever time the cash will get available to you, that will be a delay in receiving the payments. Now, how to reduce it? So there can be two things that a company can do. One is a lock boxes and another is a concentration banking. Generally, lock boxes are something like uh, post post box numbers. You might remember that there are many companies who are used to refer for post box numbers. So any if you drop any letter to certain post box number, it will be immediately reaching to the company. So that reduces the time. And second is a concentration banking. Concentration banking is you may ask your customer not to send the check to you. What customer can do is customer can immediately go to a bank. You might have provided the bank details and you may ask your customer to deposit that respective check in the bank. So this respective time will get reduced. This time will get disbursed from this entire channel. So this much time will be saved. That is when customer is mailing the check, company receives and company deposits. Instead of mailing the check, customer can go to the respective bank that is provided by you, deposit the check directly in that respective bank account which is given by you. So this entire time, mailing time and processing time gets zero, and check is directly deposited to the bank account of the company, and cash will be available to the company in a shorter duration because this respective duration is deducted from the entire channel. So this is how you can speed up your collection process. Delaying payment, what else you can do other than increasing your payment times, increasing your receipt times? What you can do is you can delay your payments. If your supplier is asking for a fund maybe in 30 days, and if you can delay it for somewhat day, that will help you out to keep cash on hand. And today we are knowing that everything is data driven, electronic format. So EDI can help you out to reduce the cash time. In today's date, in no times we're transferring money to anybody, anywhere within the country. So with the help of NEFT, RTGS, IMPS, company can also reduce its cash collection time. Nowadays, you may see that all companies are providing these details. NEFT, RTGS, IMPS, Beam UPI, etc. is being provided by every company these days, so that you can immediately scan it and can send the fund to that respective company. So that company receives the fund in no time. They will not be waiting for your check and all. So writing check is an older process now. These days companies don't write check. These days companies are demanding transfer, electronic transfers. So that is, the cash is available, immediately available to the company. Question arises, how much cash balance should a company should keep? What is the optimum cash balance? So see, maintaining holding cash have its own cost, opportunity cost. So if we'll see here, transaction cost, holding more and more cash reduces your transaction cost. Cash balance reduces the transaction cost, but your opportunity cost will be increasing. If you are holding cash on hand, you have a good opportunity to invest somewhere, but you would like to hold cash on hand. The transaction cost will get reduced because you'll not have to pay any interest on that respective fund. The transaction cost is reduced. But what about the opportunity cost? It is increasing now because you're losing interest, losing a certain return on that respective fund. So any amount, any amount that is being hold will have an opportunity cost, will reduce the transaction cost. And as you hold more and more money on hand, more and more cash on hand, your opportunity cost will increase and your transaction cost will reduce. So a point where these two lines are intersecting each other, that is the opportunity cost and the transaction cost are intersecting each other, that respective point will be termed as the optimum cash balance. And the total cost, when you will add these two costs, your total cost curve will be something like this, have a U shape. This point where these two are intersecting each other, the total cost is at a minimum point. So total cost is minimum, holding cost or opportunity cost and transaction cost are intersecting. So this respective point will be your optimum cash balance. You should have hold up to this much. You should not hold more than this cash. Why? Because if you hold more than this, you are able to see your total cost curve is going upward. That means your total cost for holding that much amount is increasing. The total cost should not increase, it should be minimum. So this is how you can be able to identify your optimal cash balance. Investment of surplus fund. What kind of surplus company should have? It may be useful to divide a firm's short-term investment portfolio into three categories. One is ready cash segment, another is controllable cash segment, and a third is free cash segment. Now, if we'll talk about investing, which fund should be invested? We have divided your surplus into three different segments. That is ready cash segment, controllable cash segment, and free cash segment. Probably this is the last topic to discuss today because we are running short of time. So I will explain you this and then we'll open up the session for question answers. So ready cash segment is company's cash balance to meet unanticipated operational needs. If we talk about any contingencies come, so how to meet that respective contingency, company needs certain amount of cash on hand. So this is a ready cash segment. That amount should not be invested. It should be kept as it is, or it should be in a liquid position if you're investing anywhere. So that at any point of time when cash is required, you can be able to immediately withdraw it. Controllable cash segment. Controllable cash segment is to meet the knowable outflows like taxes, dividends, etc. You are well aware when you need to pay a dividend. You are well aware what is the last date of paying taxes and etc. The controllable cash segment is that part. So whenever you have a due date to meet such kind of contingencies, such kind of pre-planned outflows, you should have a cash on hand for that. The third segment, after having some contingencies, after having some planned payouts, whatever amount remains on hand is known as a free cash segment. This is a completely surplus fund which is available to you. This fund is right now is not used either in these two segments. So this fund is available for investment. You can plan it for investment for a shorter duration. So this is how you can be able to divide your short-term surplus funds into these three segments, and you can invest it for a shorter period of time compared to these. So we are stopping this session here, and I'm opening up the session for question answers. If you have any questions, you can ask me, and we can later on have a discussion on your question. Yes, class, any questions? I'm unmuting you all. If you have any questions, you can ask me questions.
हेलो सर,
आपको अनम्यूट कर दिया है, कोई क्वेरी है तो
मैं तो उसके पास नहीं जाऊंगा।
अगर आपको कोई क्वेरी नहीं है तो अपना माइक म्यूट रखिए। आप सब अपना माइक म्यूट रखिए। आपको क्वेरी है here.
हेलो सर,
and we can
करने से हेलो सर,
hello yes
सर, this chapter will conduct any sums
Sorry?
आएंगे इस चैप्टर में से? इस चैप्टर में से सम्स आएंगे?
थोड़ा सा आपको आवाज नहीं आ रहा है, प्लीज।
सर, इस चैप्टर में से सम आएंगे?
इस चैप्टर में से सम नहीं आएंगे, पूरा थियोरेटिकल पार्ट है तो इसमें से सम नहीं होगा एक भी।
गलती नहीं
तो
होती।
सर हम जो क्लास में पढ़े उतने ही सम आएंगे ना,
उतने ही
उसके
सम
अलावा तो
आएंगे।
सब थ्योरी पोर्शन।
और अगर कहीं पे अगर
अच्छा,
आपको अभी सम करवाया है, मान लो नीता मैडम अगर आपको सम करवाती है उनके सेक्शन में कहीं पे, तो वो चैप्टर में से सम आएंगे। अभी जितना हमने यहाँ पे
नहीं सर,
लॉकडाउन में
नीता
जितने
मैम भी
चैप्टर्स पढ़े हैं,
जनरली, यस सर,
जितने चैप्टर मैंने लॉकडाउन में पढ़ा है वो सारे थ्योरेटिकल चैप्टर्स हैं और उसमें से कहीं पे कोई सम नहीं आने वाला है, क्योंकि थियरी प्रॉपर्ली आप लर्न कर लेंगे। ठीक है।
श्योर सर। तो सर फिनेंस में मोस्ट ऑफली थियरी आने वाली है, मे बी
हाँ,
पॉसिबिलिटी ऐसी
फाइनेंस
होगी।
फाइनेंस इज नॉट लाइक के उसमें कैलकुलेशंस ही होता है। फाइनेंस इज ऑल अबाउट मैनेजिंग फंड्स, अंडरस्टैंडिंग, वो इम्पोर्टेंट है।
यस
ओके।
सर।